Hey guys, I'm Sarah from Who I Am Among the Pages, and thanks for watching another video. If you're new here, please take time if you like the video and subscribe and stick around. I'd love to keep you. And if you're not new, thanks for coming back. So I know it is incredibly late in the month to be doing a TBR video, but like if you watched yesterday's video, you'll know I'm just getting back into BookTube, and I think it's a good way to start off with a very classic booktube trope, if you will, of doing a TBR. So the books that I have on my TBR are not what I was actually planning on reading this month necessarily, because if you didn't watch the last video, you won't know. I had to come home for a family emergency, and 95% of the books that I was planning on reading in the near future are still down in my bedroom in my apartment at college. Hopefully soon I'll get a chance to go back down there and get the books that I want to read, because there are several that I had envisioned reading at Christmas time, and the holidays are almost upon us and I really do want to read them. Nonetheless, I just haven't gotten a chance. Classes are crazy, everything's crazy. The opportunity just hasn't presented itself yet. But so for now, for the rest of the month, we are making do, because you can see the shelves behind me. I am not starving for books by any stretch of the imagination. It just so happens a lot of these are books that I've read. That's why they were home, not with me at school. But anyway, so to get on with the video, the first book on my TBR for this month is one that I'm currently reading, and I talked about in yesterday's video, Insomnia by Stephen King. And you can see my bookmark in it. You can see it's gotten kind of roughed up. I had started this about the time that I got out of isolation from COVID, and that was October 16th, so shortly before that. So I've been reading it for a while now. If life hadn't gotten crazy, I would have finished this by now, because I had been on such a roll with reading other books. I've been in a little bit of a slump because I am an English major, so by nature I have roughly a dozen books a semester, novels that I have to read for school. So sometimes if they're not books that I want to read, or that they're rough to get through, and that's just the nature of it, I tend to go into a reading slump. So I had been in one. I had gotten out of it and was plowing through this guy, and then I had to come back home and situation changed. So I'm hoping to be able to finish this up within the next week. I'm on page 400 of 900. It's exactly 900 pages. This copy is anyway. Yep, exactly 900 pages. So I'm 44% the way through, I think is what it said on Goodreads. It's a very interesting book. It follows the main character, Ralph Roberts, who, I think that was his name. Yeah, Ralph Roberts. He's an older man. He's recently lost his wife, and he begins to have trouble sleeping. And if you're familiar at all with the world of psychology, it is very common in the older generations to have mental illnesses, especially after trauma, because you have just lost some of the emotional complexity, or that's not the word I'm looking for. It's some of the basically the strength to deal with things, as well as you might have 30 years ago. It's just nature. It's unfortunate, but it tends to be the way it is. But not only is he gradually sleeping less and less, minute by minute each night, he's also beginning to notice some pretty strange things around his little town of Derry, Maine, which has always been a very small Mayberry. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody raises their kids there. Good little town, no threats. And it starts out with one of his very close friends absolutely losing his mind. So now you're down the rabbit hole of what's happening in this little town, because clearly there's something sinister. I'm a huge Stephen King fan. I unfortunately haven't read a whole lot of his stuff. I've read a lot of the classics, like Christine and The Shining and Salem's Lot. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. His classics I've read almost all of, but a lot of his newer novels. I think this one was published in the 90s, so I guess it's not necessarily new, but I still view it as a newer one just because it's not one of his originals. It's not focusing on like a classic story or a classic horror trope so much. But yeah, this was published in 1994. Obviously, this is a fairly new edition. I got it on Black Friday last year, actually, at Books A Million. So it's a very interesting story, very creepy. It definitely has more of a science fiction vibe than a lot of his stories that I've read. But again, I've only read like the really famous ones. But yeah, really, really good, really creepy, really good. It's still very Stephen King, even if it does have a very different, almost science-y paranormal aspect to it. Still very good, still very creepy. If you love Stephen King, you'll love this. It's very quintessential for him still. The next book that I want to read is one that I talked about in yesterday's video, and again, it really has nothing to do with Thanksgiving or the holidays, but I read this book when I was younger, like a good deal younger, like I think I was in the 4th grade, and I'm a junior in college now. So I imagine I'll whip through this pretty quickly, because I remember ripping through it at the time, and of course I was one of those kids that could finish like a 300-page book in an afternoon and then like lost that ability somewhere along the line. But nonetheless, I am going to read Girl in Blue by Anne Rinaldi. It follows spirited teenager Sarah Louisa, who learns that she's going to be married off, and she is not interested in that at all. It takes place in 1861, and the guy she's going to marry is kind of a jerk. Like, he's really not a good guy. If I remember right, he's a lot older than her too. I think she's only like 15. So it's on the eve of the Civil War, if you're familiar with American history, and she decides that she's going to run off and fight in the war. So she does. She hides herself, she hides her femininity, and goes to war, and if I remember right, does just as well as any of the gentlemen. Again, it's been years and years since I've read the story, but I'm really excited, and if you can see like the text, it should be a fairly quick read. It's only 310 pages, 6 pages. But I really like these stories. I like historical fiction a lot, and I really like stories of women in unusual places in history. Like, I really enjoyed My Dear Hamilton by, oh god, I can never remember their names. I think it's Laurie Dre and I can't remember it for the life of me, but I have the book somewhere here. It's like down there. But wonderful book, if I could figure out for the life of me who it was by. Really wonderful book. Of course, that follows Eliza Hamilton, who, although, you know, she was, you know, a politician's wife, so there wasn't anything that out of the ordinary, she still was Alexander Hamilton's wife, who was a very divisive character. And I think that's really interesting. And of course, women weren't supposed to go to war, and she did. So I'm really looking forward to that. And again, I know the story kind of because I read it before, but I'm looking forward to going back to it. And the last one, I am going to get so much hate for not having read before now, because I've talked about how much I love the series. It is Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. It is the last book in the Throne of Glass series, and it's been out for a while now. Let me see if I can find the copyright real quick for you. I know it's been several years. 2018, I think. Yeah, map copyright was 2016. Text copyright was circa 2018 by Sarah J. Maas. So yeah, it's been out for 2 years. I got it last fall, because in my college town there is a Barnes & Noble, which I had never been in, and it is a wonderful Barnes & Noble. So I kind of, being on my own for the first time, kind of went nuts in Barnes & Noble. Spent over $100, and this is one of the gems I got. Honestly, it's been years since, I think I was a sophomore in high school when I read the Throne of Glass series originally. So I'm probably going to at least go back and read like a synopsis of each book, because I don't remember a whole lot about the series, but I'm pretty good about, once I pick up a sequel, being able to like jog my memory. It depends on the series though, so I will go back and take the time catch myself up because I did pay for this and I am going to read it. And I did, at least at the time, I really loved Throne of Glass. So I do want to finish it. And now, you know, all my other TBR books are 3.5 hours away. So why not finish it? I don't really know how I feel about this because I remember reading, what is it, Empire of Storms is the last one in like the main series before this. I know there's Tower of Dawn, which follows Kale. Is that how you say his name? I haven't read that either. Like, sorry about that. One of my cats was poking at my guinea pigs, and I don't think she has any horrible intentions, but I don't want to take the chance that she does, and even though they are in a cage, still predator prey, and I don't really want to play that game and find out the hard way. But yeah, it's been a while since I've read Throne of Glass, but I really loved it when I read it. It was like my big introduction into YA because I had read like The Hunger Games and like Divergent and Percy Jackson. I'd read that, but then when I discovered BookTube, Throne of Glass was like the first one that really captivated me and made me really want to delve back into reading when I started high school. So I do want to finish it, and I really do love Sarah J. Maas's writing. She has a very unique way of writing that kind of reminds me of fan fiction, but not necessarily in the bad, cringy. I don't want to say fan fiction's bad. I started out writing by writing fan fiction, but it just has a very adolescent vibe to it that, as an English major, reading these very, I don't want to say pretentious, but a lot of what I've read this semester is kind of pretentious. A very well-respected academic literature. You just don't see it, and it's something that I miss in reading, and I just, you know, Sarah J. Maas is just good, fantastic romance, and I'm not much of a romance person, but the way she does hers with, like, you know, the girl that just needs the guy, like, I like that trope of, like, the prince rescuing the princess, but she's, you know, strong and independent in her own right. So I am excited to get back to that, and I do enjoy a high fantasy just like anybody else with, you know, the Crooked King and the Sweet Prince and so on and so forth. And the Fae. I love stories with the Fae. That's what, if I had my books up here, I was gonna read, it completely slipped my mind. It's like it's the Modern Fairy Tales by Holly Black. That was going to be on my TBR this month. But again, it is 8 ways away. And if I do get through all 3 of those, which I'm really kind of doubting because my workload right now is like not good. It is kind of crazy. And really, I should be doing literally anything but filming a YouTube video right now. So, oh well. If I do somehow, by some miracle, get through all 3 of those, I am going to pick up the 5th Outlander book, The Fiery Cross, and my god, this is a chunk. There's no way I'm going to finish all 4 of these in a month, because, I mean, I don't have a tiny baby hand. Yeah. It's big. It's kind of intimidating. I've been meaning to read it for quite a while because I finished Drums of Autumn, the 4th book, sometime last summer, like summer 2019. But Outlander is a story that stuck with me very well, so I'm not concerned about having forgotten it. But yeah, so I don't think I'll get to it, but that is the plan. That pretty much wraps up the video for today. I think tomorrow I'm going to try to make another video, and you can probably hear them in the background. I've spoken about them briefly, my guinea pigs. I'm still really excited to have them. Like, they're still relatively new to me. I just got them in late August. And they're my little boys. I just love them so much. So I think tomorrow I'm going to do a video kind of introducing them, and even though it's not book related, just like generally about what it's like to own guinea pigs, like what my experience is. And like personally how I take care of them, because they seem to be in very good health anyway. They're very happy. They're pretty trusting of me, even though I haven't had them for very long. So I think that's going to be tomorrow's video. If anybody has any strong objections, please say something. But, so yeah, it'll be a quick departure from book videos, but we'll get back to it. And also, I've never really mentioned this before, but I've gotten back into art. I was really into art in high school. and by no means am I very good at it at all. But I do really enjoy it, and I had thought about maybe making some art videos and putting on YouTube. Like, you know, disclaimers out there, I'm not good. But maybe somebody else out there is, you know, super into drawing or painting, and just isn't feeling that great, that, you know, maybe they could have a buddy that also loves what they're doing but sucks. Not that anybody's art sucks, but in my opinion, my art is not where I would like it to be, and it's just because I took 4 years and never touched drawing materials. So then coming back to it, you're just not as practiced, and your muscle memory's gone, and you can probably hear their water bottle in the background, and I'm sorry. But yeah, so if you guys have any suggestions for videos, book related, not book related, book, art, animal, it's like my 3 realms. I'm still working on my NaNoWriMo project, even though because of my family emergency I have fallen way behind and I'm not going to finish it this month. Hopefully, I'm just hoping to finish it by like the end of the year. So if anybody would like a writing vlog, I did one of those one time. I thought about doing another one of them, like NaNoWriMo style, like how I sit down in a day and get the word count done, like what my process is, what I do, how I get myself comfortable to be able to focus. I thought about doing that. So yeah, if anybody has any ideas, by all means, speak up in the comments. And otherwise, thank you for watching.